Welcome back. Another episode of the Expediting Change podcast, where we talked about knowledge without action is useless. This time I didn't swear in the intro, so you might like it. Some listeners might come back. I am so excited today because in my original podcast, I had a conversation with you all about I'm a stock dude, period. But then I got some real good friends who was hitting me up, text at the country club, at the private club, like, Mari, you can't be out there dogging real estate. I said, why not? I had a horrible experience. I don't do real estate. They said, because I do real estate and you my man, so therefore I got some words for you. And I said, okay, I got it, check it. But it's so many different ways you could do real estate, just like it's so many different ways you can do stocks. I'm going to bring a multitude of folks on who I personally trust and also that are doing big things in the game. So my guest that's coming on has been in the game, man, listen, for as long as I've known. Some people don't understand what it means to have to eat what you kill and kill what you eat. But this cat right here, he been doing it for a brick. So we're going to get him on. We're going to talk about expediting change. And you already know I'm going to ask him the question. Listen, theory without practice don't make no sense. So at the end of this podcast, I'm going to put him on the hot seat and I'm going to say, yo, what are you doing for real people in real life right now?
It's just me.
Let's get it.
As I open my mind and try to reach yours, ask myself, why is it you really want to preach?
So welcome back. I'm going to allow my guy to introduce himself and we're going to get right into it. Because again, as you know, one of these goals is breaking down the wealth gap in America. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about real estate. So introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cory Haqq, Senior Advisor with Marcus & Millichap. Marcus & Millichap is one of the largest commercial real estate firms, real estate investment firms in the country. I myself personally have been in the business just shy of 15 years, and I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you regarding real estate, brother.
And he said, how old are you, Cory?
I'll be 42 in June.
So that's almost half his life. You hear what he said? 15, that's almost half his life. So he's been in the game almost half his life. So make sure you check in, make sure you rewind this joint. So Haqq, you already know how we get down, man. Right. We're gonna have a real conversation. You were one of the ones that I was talking about when I started talking about stocks. And you're like, Mari, listen, I know you can save some money here with stocks, but you can also do a 1031 exchange. You know what I mean? Yeah. So first things first, because I know your type of real estate investment is very specific. So talk to the people about what type of real estate you do.
So I primarily specialize in multifamily housing. So we're going to call that anything above 4 units and up. Okay. So when you get a residential mortgage, you're going to really pretty much be buying anything 3 units and down, or 4 units and down. You can put a residential mortgage on a 4 unit, but once you get to a 5 unit, it automatically is classified as a commercial property. So we'd probably be in that range from, let's call it 5 units to just shy of institutional. Institutional level is when you got, banks and REITs buying, bigger assets. So anything from the institutional, just below institutional level down, something that I would specialize in that space. I've also had a career in retail real estate. So I've been able to transact in the bigger box retail with Walmarts and Walgreens and Dollar General. So, just a vast amount of product over my career.
So it sounds to me, I'm gonna break it down because y'all know I don't real estate for me, small, medium, large, right? So if I'm not a big fish in the game and have that much knowledge like you do, how do I jump in? What's the first step? Like, what do I do?
Well, I would always encourage, individuals to just, take a shot at a commercial property, whether it be mixed use retail or, a 5 or 6 unit apartment building. Okay. Because once you do your first deal, you're in the game. Okay. And, and the game is unlimited. I myself personally never graduated with a bachelor's degree, and I've had a very successful career, throughout, brokerage and several other things. Because of real estate. So, once you do your first deal, you're in the game.
But what's my shoe in though? Like, let's say, because we talk about the spectrum of finances, right? So there's individuals who struggling right now. You know what I mean? It's COVID, it's crazy. How do I get in? Like, do I save my money and then I gotta have 1%, 2%, 3% in some government programs? Like, how do I get my first deal if I don't just got bread?
That's a great question. The beauty of real estate, I think, is that there's so many creative ways to make a deal. And people who are really tapped in with the lineage of their family most likely get their first property from an aunt, uncle, or relative. You know what I mean? And like I said, once you got title, now you got options. You know, you have what you call equity. You know, and if you don't have any debt on that, you have full equity. So now you have an opportunity to really create some wealth for yourself. So I would actually tell people to talk to their closest friends and families and find out who owns what and if they're struggling with it. You know, especially if you have a true passion for real estate. It's not easy for everybody to just walk into a bank and get a loan, right?
Yep.
Another route would be to tap into like some CDFI lenders or.
Wait. So two things we gotta go back on. First, you gotta tell the people. You said have title. What does that mean? Have title.
No, title is ownership.
Okay.
Ownership to the property.
Yep. So like the deed, like grandma signed it over. Absolutely. Then a simple deed in my name. Okay.
You could do a quick claim deed with a family member or individual who owns the property. You know, as long as it's recorded in a municipality, now you got title, and that title, can change your life. So.
And then the next thing you said, okay, so now how do I know that it's equity? So grandma gave me that property, and now how am I figuring out how do I have equity? And I'm not gonna forget about the CDF because I have no idea what that is. We'll go from title to equity. So now,
equity would be anything that you have plus or minus debt on the property. So if grandma owns a house, there's no debt on it. It's free and clear title. There's a market value to that asset, and wherever that market value, wherever an appraised value would come for that market value, then lies your equity. Okay. So you would have that much to leverage or to tap in to get some income out of.
No doubt. So how do I know? Because I go to grandma's house, it still got the plastic on the furniture. It's in the hood. You know what I'm saying? The grass is never cut. So that's a little scary for me, but it's a structure. So what are you saying? Like, how do I say, okay, Cory told me to go check with grandma's property, but how do I really know that I want to get into this and not go get myself in some trouble?
Yeah, there's several ways to really understand where you get value from. Number one would be, getting an appraisal. That could be costly, but, because I've had a long-term career in representation, I believe in agency. So I would highly advise you to tap in with a leading real estate agent in your market or, somebody who is, very knowledgeable in that space.
No doubt. So for sure. So is an agent different than a broker? Because I hear both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you tell us the difference?
A broker is responsible for, leading the firm or leading the transaction. An agent works underneath the broker until they earn the right to become a broker.
So the broker is the plug.
Could be.
And I can't go straight to the broker. I got to get an agent first?
No, I mean, depends on your relationship with the plug.
Okay. Y'all hear that? We want to try and get to the broker, but we may have to start at the agent.
I actually have a junior who works for me at Marcus, and I don't talk to everybody, but
no doubt.
When I need to, I definitely do.
Okay, sure. Respect. Sure. All right, so let's go back to the CDF. What is that?
A CDFI is a community development financial institution. So, it's kind of a multi-layered, response. But there are organizations that, fund community development from a nonprofit space. And, these financial institutions are structured underneath these community development agencies and allow these people to lend in not so rigid environments. So you go to a bank, a top tier bank, it's going to be kind of hell to get through there if you don't have a certain amount of financial credentials or credit or a balance sheet, so to speak. The CDFI will lend to you with less requirements. So usually if you have over a 600 credit score, you can have some, a shallower balance sheet. They'll tend to work with you and helping you get started and get you off the ground. Okay. And there's tons of them throughout the country. They're sanctioned under certain policy.
Okay, so I've got my foot in the door. Grandma gave me the house. I got a little equity. Am I buying this property, renovating it, and then selling it for bread? Or am I buying this property because you said small, medium, large? It might be a 3-unit, it might be 4-unit, it might be 5-unit. Am I hitting and holding? Like, what am I doing? And then give me your opinion on what you believe is best. Am I buying these joints and holding them, or am I buying these joints and flipping them?
I grew up playing Monopoly. You grew up playing Monopoly.
I did.
That's primarily the whole reason why I'm probably in the real estate business. Monopoly was my favorite game. So, you want to win the game, right?
Absolutely.
The game is to trade up.
Okay.
So you always want to trade up.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of passion projects or people falling in love with a particular asset because you miss opportunity that way. There's always an opportunity to move up. So I think if you find the right deal, you create value there, you take your chips off the table. Much like in the stock, right?
Yeah.
You buy low, sell high, right?
Absolutely.
Same deal. So
absolutely.
I think in the real estate business it works the same way. It's just a different set of economics applied.
So it scares people away sometimes when you start talking about buying it, holding, and dealing with tenants and property managers and things of that nature. So just how do you feel about that?
Unfortunately,
he said, unfortunately,
unfortunately, I've happened to seen the high, low, and the good, bad, and ugly in that space. In fact, I met with a guy a few weeks ago out in Southeast. He exchanged out of a property in Northwest and bought in the Southeast because he, was anticipating, speculating the ride of a high, and the high never came. And now, he's not a real estate person, so now he's having a nightmare with management. Management can make or break the success of your property. But I think, if you have a good relationship with your tenants and, you let your tenants know that you care about your property, they generally tend to reciprocate. But that's the wild card in the real estate business.
No doubt.
I would earnestly say that's the wild card in the real estate business.
I respect that honesty. So then if I look at the other side to the coin, so that's like people who are living there. So you mentioned like you're in a space with like Walmarts and commercials. So if I say, you know what, I want to go after like CVS, Family Dollar, Dollar General, how do I get my foot in that game?
Now that's a what they call passive product, a passive management product. So actually, prior to moving to DC, I was in that space in Atlanta, and I watched some guys do some amazing things that I wasn't even aware of prior to getting in that space. And I'm a big fan of the commercial retail space, especially if it's got the right guarantees or the right fundamentals behind it, which is location, low rent, and upside, right? But the triple net lease space is there's a lot of power in that space. Typically that's structured out when you get a corporate guaranteed product. You're going to get something that has a strong term, which would be the amount of time the tenant is committed, and a good rent, which is what's going to come back to you. But your nets are going to be where your real strength is, because if it's truly netted, it's going to be all passive. So you're just going to be
collecting a check.
You'll be in Bahamas
collecting a check,
waiting on your check in the mailbox.
I like that.
So that's a great space. Typically, you don't see a lot of new investors going into that space because there is some risk involved. And it's a thing with are you familiar with cap rates? So cap rates is where you get your.
I am, but for the show, I said no. So Haqq can explain.
So cap rates is where you're going to get your typically your annual analysis of how your property is going to perform, right? So in that space, cap rates are a little tighter. So you're going to see properties trading in that space, in a, say, call it 4 to 6, 7 range. And typically the way cap rates work is the lower the cap rate, the higher the value. The higher the cap rate, the lower the value. So
how do you? So I call it non-traditional, but you might call it something different. So you got the houses. I might buy a single, a double, triple, etc., or an apartment building. We talked about like the Walmart or CVS, Dollar General. But what about what I call like non-traditional? I want to buy a restaurant or a laundromat or a car wash. Talk to me about that play.
So, I would say the value I've had it throughout my career is where I started in Buffalo was with a firm called Hastings Cone. And at the time, man, I met this guy. It was amazing. I had a small banking career, and I wanted to get in the real estate business. And I called this guy out to business first. He had a top 5 ranked firm. I was like, hey man, I don't want no money, no leads. I just want to come in and learn. He said, come in on Monday. I had a 5-minute conversation with him.
Reaching out, taking an opportunity, just reaching out.
Yeah, man. He said you can sit right there. You can start on Monday. I sat there for like 10 years, and I literally got an opportunity to learn how to pretty much construct any deal from leasing to office space to warehouse to working with consumer businesses to, I actually put the first Dollar General on the east side of Buffalo on Genesee and Best. That was my first exposure to a triple net lease. Had I known that I was going to do what I did 10 years later, I was like, wow, but having that experience allowed me to understand how to work with consumers. So when you say like buying a restaurant or a small business per se, that's a great opportunity because a lot of times, and we're probably seeing it like the end of that generation now, where the baby boomers are kind of phasing out of like the retirement phase and are really actually retired. But 5-10 years ago, you could have bought like a really profitable business that had real estate, inventory, and cash flow, and really did well with that. Because there was a time where people weren't as savvy with leases and sell lease back and other ways to raise capital to keep their businesses going. So I'm a big believer in buying an operation, especially if real estate is attached to it. For sure.
It's already functioning.
Absolutely. I read an article last week. Tony's Ranch House in Buffalo is closing. I was disappointed, broke my heart because I actually sold that. I sold that to the guy who owns the real estate. And he was going to operate the business, and he ended up selling the business off. But it's still a win for him because he's still on the real estate.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
he sold?
Well, he sold the restaurant component, and then the new operator, unfortunately, was a victim of the pandemic and couldn't really survive the pandemic. So she's shutting down. And I think Tony's Ranch House, when I sold the property, had been operating for 35 years.
Yeah, I grew
maybe
up,
longer,
I
maybe
grew
50,
right
maybe longer. I mean, like these people were like, they're at the end, bro. Late 70s, like, man, we got to get out of this. And I was like, man, I would love to sell this to somebody who keep it going. And I had the opportunity to transact that, and it's just unfortunate to see it close. But long story short, in buying the real estate, got the inventory, in buying the business, got the real estate, the inventory, cash flow, and now that the business is closed, he still has a value because he has the real estate.
Has some of the best Texas hats in the world.
And is on a great corner. I mean, going back to real estate fundamentals, is in a great corner. Four-way corner, traffic light.
Main Street.
Yeah, so real
estate
estate
fundamentals. $1 million properties.
Yeah, so real estate fundamentals still applies.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give me your why on real estate, but give me your why with the caveat on real estate versus investing in the stock market. We know we can do both. You know what I mean? We can diversify, but tell me your why real estate over investing in the stock market.
That's a good question. I would say, and I'm biased, obviously I've been in real estate as long as I have, but prior to getting into real estate, like I said, I had a short banking career and I wanted to go into investment banking. It just wasn't an option or an avenue to me in Buffalo at that time. I believe in real estate because of the tangible nature of it, right? So like, it's physical. Always see it. One of my boys, he like going crazy in Bitcoin. God bless him. I don't know shit about it. So I'm not like gung ho to go get in Bitcoin because I'm like, but I know real estate. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's tangible. I can see it. Even when it zeroes out, there's usually a value that comes behind it. So, I'm just a big fan of being able to produce results with that space. I've also seen some amazing things happen in real estate, and not to say I haven't seen amazing things happen in the equities business or the bonds business, but I'm just comfortable in my space.
No doubt. No, I think you said something key that I want to tease out, which is one of my rules about investing, period, but definitely investing in the stock market. If I can't explain it, then I don't invest in it, period. You feel me? You know what I mean? So whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's bonds, whatever it might be, make sure you learn the game. Now, that don't mean that you have to know the entire game. Like we just talked about, we just talked about investing in single units, investing in Walmart, investing in Dollar Generals, investing in what do we talk about with the laundromat? So you don't necessarily have to know all those, but become an expert, become knowledgeable in exactly what you want to invest in. The next question, Haqq, that I'm gonna ask you is this. You already know me, you know my style, you know how we rock.
I wouldn't agree to come on if it wasn't fair game.
No doubt. I need to know what you are doing right now today for real people right now in real life, because a lot of people talk, man. You know, you done been from Buff to Atlanta, DC. You've been moving around. And
yes,
there's people out here who need help, man. So talk to me about what you're doing to expedite change.
Absolutely. So, one of the first things I'm doing now is, since joining Marcus and Millichap, I'm running a team that's done over $1 billion in transactions here in DMV. We got a couple juniors starting. So I'm, mentoring and, giving them knowledge, on the road so I can get to my next promotion as well.
No doubt.
The second thing is first week of March. So next week, not this week, next week, I'll be closing on my first development site in Buffalo.
Nice.
It's significant to me because...
Is that the one I'm a part of?
No. but you'll get the information. It's significant to me because, Buffalo is home, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I started my career. And I got in the real estate business to become a developer. I think, and we can have another segment on that. Like, everyone, hears the term developer and thinks is one thing, but, people who are actually in the space and...
Go ahead, spit it. We got time. Go ahead.
We need a lot more time.
So just take away the myths of what a developer is.
I mean, people think developers are rich and always have unlimited resources to actually put a project together. And really, that's not the truth. So, there's a lot that goes into deal structuring. There's a lot that goes into capturing that asset. There's a lot that goes into raising that capital. And a lot of times the developer is the main person at risk. He's putting his personal guarantee up. In some cases, he may have assets, that are at risk to make that project happen. So, I'm closing on my first development project in Buffalo the first week of March. We're going to be doing thank you. We're going to be doing a mixed-use property on Jefferson Avenue, which is, an intensified revitalization area in the city. I don't want to go too much into it, but in terms of community contribution, I'm raising a portion of the equity through a crowdfund structure.
Dope.
And the reason why I'm doing that is because I feel like there's a tremendous amount of momentum in Buffalo and things are happening, and that the larger body of the community has been locked out from the process of making money.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's global.
Yeah.
That's global. Buffalo is home, but that's happening everywhere.
So, there's been opportunities, and there are opportunities for us as a community to participate in the revitalization of our community and get some equity out of it.
No doubt.
So I want to take the lead and kind of create the opportunity for us to kind of get involved in that space on that side.
That's dope. So anybody interested in jumping into real estate, like right now, talk to the people and tell them what they should do.
I would actually say go get your license, man. It don't hurt. It changed my life. $500, best $500 I ever spent in my life.
And tell them exactly what license. Real estate license?
Real estate license, yeah, man. That's $500 I ever spent in my life. And, I know people who only do residential, and they're extremely successful. I know people who have, I seen a guy, this is a true story, I seen a guy, he made no money in 2018. He was on the phone every day, banging. He said his product type was gas stations. His name Josh Kim, Sands Investment Group. You go look him up. No money, $0. Went to the office every day, banging. The very next year, gross, $2.1 million in commission.
Jeez.
I seen it with my own eyes.
Gotta walk.
I seen it with my own eyes, bro.
Yeah.
I seen it with my own eyes, man. So, real estate can change your life in a multitude of ways.
And you got to keep at it. That means you got to keep at it.
You got to have some grit. It's hard. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I ever did. But it's also like a drug, It's like, you sometimes you get that high, and then sometimes you get that low, and then sometimes you get on the real low.
It's the chase.
Yeah, it's the chase. And then you get another hit, and you be like, all right, I'm back in this thing.
That's what I'm talking
Listening
about.
to Rick James the whole way, man. The whole way.
So listen, this is my man Cory Haqq, who is doing crazy good things, big things in the real estate game. Y'all already know I'm a stock guy, but Expediting Change is not about me, it's about you. right? So every single time you tune in, you're going to hear something, some nuggets that you could potentially listen to, write down. And the biggest thing is to not just listen to us talk, is to reach out and holler at us or just hit up Uncle Google. So you hear something on this podcast, check with Google, start doing the research, write down the steps, and then just go do it. No longer can we sit on the sidelines and not get to the bag. We need to enact change now. I like to order something today and get it yesterday. And a part of that order is getting to the bag. So if you're interested in real estate, you want to give them your contact information to reach out?
Yeah, you can reach me, Cory, Cory, Haqq, Haqq, at Marcus Millichap, MILLICHAP.com. I don't want to give a whole lot. You gotta give yourself. I'm not hard to find, man.
This has been Expediting Change. We appreciate you. Stay tuned. Much love.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Haqq.
You know it.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.